Absolutely. I mean, you know what? At least Montreal kind of, sort of, maybe has a plan. I don't think the Calgary Flames have a plan at all. Because at the deadline, not the deadline, at the draft, the Carolina Hurricanes got Dougie Hamilton and Michael Furland and prospect Adam Fox, who's supposed to be a fantastic prospect, but there were rumors that he wasn't going to sign with Calgary. So it's been rumored for a while now that he was going to be moved, and now he finally has been for Elias Lindholm and Noah Hannafin. Now, again, this is a rumor. John Shannon of Fan 960 said that the Flames would go to lunch and Dougie Hamilton would go to the museum. So I don't know if there's any truth to that, but that is what John Shannon said a few days ago. So is this first of all, what is Calgary doing? Because I don't know. I'm not sure they have a plan at all. I think they're kind of winging it and seeing what's going to happen, because you don't just Dougie Hamilton has been traded twice. He is one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League, period. Now, Noah Hannafin's a stud. Elias Lindholm, fantastic player. What is Calgary doing? Two, if there is any truth to what John Shannon said, that Dougie Hamilton would rather go to the museum or be an introvert as opposed to go out with the team and do whatever. What does that say about the culture of the National Hockey League, or even hockey as a whole, that teams are likely to move on from players that don't spend every waking moment with said team, as opposed to, kind of doing their own thing? What does that say about the league? Well, the problem with Carolina, right, is they would have made the playoffs if their goaltending was an abomination. Cam Ward was bad. Scott Darling was bad. The team played pretty well on for the most part, but the goaltending was a disgrace, and that's their biggest contributor to why they didn't make the playoffs. The coaching and everything else obviously plays a part, but when your goaltender can't make saves that they should be making saves, or make that one save to bail the team out, and to get momentum going the other way and get Carolina going and get that, in big moments, if your goaltender can't step up to the plate, you're not going to make the playoffs. And that's probably the biggest reason why Carolina didn't. I mean, hey, you know what? You're a UFA. I'm a UFA. Listen, I'm not suggesting, we're gonna be top line players. I'm a goaltender. I'm not saying I'm replacing Henrik Lundqvist or Carey Price or anybody anytime soon. However, we do not have contracts, so if teams ever need an emergency player, I'm just saying. You're a UFA. I'm a UFA. Crazier things have happened. All I'm saying. Absolutely, Bettman's listening. That's all. I mean, can't confirm that, but if we do get signed, Bettman's listening. Probably, hopefully, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah. He's. You know what? Willie O'Ree made the Hall of Fame. That's the story. That's the biggest story. First black player in the NHL. That by far is the best story. He should have been in there a long time ago. I'm glad they put him in now. Bettman, the thing with Bettman, I mean, listen. We all know the 04-05 lockout. We know the 94-95 half lockout. We know the 12-13 half lockout. The thing that people need to understand is that also we know the Olympics debacle. A lot of that, no matter what you want to believe, isn't only his fault. There's a lot that goes into those discussions. Now, the concussion thing with Carcillo and Boynton and all those players, the NHL needs to figure that out, and they need to figure it out now. They need to acknowledge it, and they need to figure it out. Because that's a problem. That's every day that they don't acknowledge it is a bigger problem. However, in terms of the Hall of Fame and building the game of hockey itself, you can't solely put the blame on Bettman for all the woes that hockey has had. Now, if you want to blame him for concussions and and other stuff, that's fine. That's fair. I think he deserves that. But in terms of the Olympics and the lockouts, he's public enemy number one because he's the commissioner. It's not only his fault. As a business, he's done. I think he's done a very good job in terms of as you said, expanding the game of hockey. In other areas, you could probably point the finger at him and give him blame, which is fair. The concussions and all that. They need to figure that out, and they need to do that quickly because the lawsuit is in the public spotlight right now. And with every day that Bettman and the league don't say, okay, concussions are obviously a huge problem with the sport, and here's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna work with Carcillo and Boynton and CTE doctors and brain doctors and all of that, and we're gonna work with them to help hockey get safer. Until they do that, it's a huge black spot on the NHL and on the game of hockey as a whole. Right. I mean, a lot of I haven't played in the NHL, so this is not firsthand experience. But unless you're a GM listening to this, in which case call me because I'm a UFA, and call Julian too because he's a UFA as well. We would love to suit up. The stories that I've heard from former players and what has been made public is that a lot of teams in the NHL, if you have a concussion or if you have problems with vision or hearing or orientation or any of that, and just kind of knowing, like, the Paul Kariya story is crazy to me, how he completely doesn't remember scoring in game 6, how he just doesn't remember the games. That's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying, how a hockey player in the NHL got that poor treatment. That's terrifying. Now that was 2003, right? I think it was. So that was 15 years ago. But has medicine in professional sports gotten that much better? We have concussion protocol now. Yeah, I mean, step one is acknowledging that you have a problem. If you can't see straight, or you're kind of wobbling, or especially in the postseason, your first instinct is, I'm okay. I can get out there again. But if you're not 100% fine, probably shouldn't get back out on the ice. That would be my guess. Yeah, I mean, we don't have concrete evidence to prove that, but I'm almost positive that it's gotten better as time has went on, from the 90s to the 2000s to now. It has gotten a little bit better. Uh, we can't prove that per se, but I the baby steps have been taken, but until the NHL acknowledges, hey, this is a problem, it's not the shackles aren't really going to get moved much until there's some public acknowledgement there. And now moving on to a little bit of a lighter topic. Connor Sherry, Matt Hunwick to the Penguins, not to the Sabres, not to the Penguins, to the Sabres, for a conditional fourth round pick in 2019, a third round pick if Connor Sherry scores 20 goals or 40 points. So it's going to be more than likely a fourth round pick. Now that is a huge cap dump for the Penguins. Sherry was making $3 million a year. Matt Hunwick is not a good defenseman, and the Sabres now have, I guess, a decent forward. He's not going to score. He's not flashy. He showed flashes of brilliance from the Penguins, but at the same time, which forward really didn't? those years in Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh isn't going anywhere. They're still fantastic, as of now anyway. But especially during the Cup years, pretty much any forward and every forward were showing flashes of brilliance out on the ice. Connor Sherry and Matt, is not going to score 40 points on the Sabres. That's for sure. Eichel can only do so much. O'Reilly, if he stays in Buffalo, which, I mean, probably won't happen. Crazier things have happened, but yeah, I don't think he stays in Buffalo. O'Reilly, let's say for the sake of this conversation that he is staying in Buffalo, O'Reilly can only do so much. Sherry is not going to score you 40 points. He's a decent bottom six player. Might put up 25, 30 points a season. Not too flashy. Won't stand out too much. He might give you a flashy pass or a flashy goal here or there, but for the most part, he's just a decent depth forward. What that does for Pittsburgh now is they only have about 8.1, 8.2 million cap space according to Cap Friendly, by the way, which is the website that I'm using to look up all these numbers. But they're going to be using part of that to sign Jack Johnson, which has been reported by Mark Madden and Jason Mackey on Twitter. Jason Mackey says that it's a 5-year deal between $3 to $3.5 million a year. Jack Johnson, by the way, was a healthy scratch in Columbus. He is terrible. He's not First of all, a depth defenseman shouldn't be making $3.5 million a year if he wasn't healthy scratched by his team. This guy, I want to preface this by saying, I'm glad Jack Johnson's getting paid, because if the reports from a few years ago that his parents bankrupted him are true, then I'm glad he's getting paid and he can finally get back, on his feet again. At the same time, Jack Johnson isn't worth half of the reported $3 to $3.5 million a year salary that he is going to get from the Penguins. He's not good. If you are getting healthy scratched by a team, Columbus is fairly deep on the blue line, but they're not deep enough to start healthy scratching players that if you look at them, by name and associate them with being quality defensemen, they shouldn't be getting scratched, right? But Jack Johnson was evidently bad enough to get healthy scratched. His fancy stats are abysmal. By the way, this is an aside. I can't for the life of me understand why the NHL and hockey fans completely hate analytics and fancy stats. The MLB, for example, loves it, and they gobble it up, and they take fancy stats and they add another layer of assessment to every player and every team in the league. It's an added benefit to how a team and how a player does on the field or on the ice or etc. I don't understand the complete lack of want from NHL teams, NHL fans. I don't understand, I just don't understand why fans don't appreciate analytics, because they are crucial to understanding a lot of players. You can see the most talented players, obviously Ovechkin and Crosby, and they're gonna have great fancy stats because they're generational players. But if you're looking at a bottom six player like Jack Johnson or Connor Sherry, you need analytics to better help understand the big picture, because they're not flashy. Jack Johnson is a terrible blue liner, but let's say Connor Sherry, right? I don't have his analytics right in front of me, but and that's a bad thing, right? Because they should be readily available to anyone that wants to understand the deeper side to hockey. Now I'm sure that there's a couple websites out there that can better help explain it, the analytics side, but MLB.com has fancy stats on the official website. Like, it shouldn't be, this, you have to go to a different website and trust and look at their model and see how, because most fans won't do that. But if you're on the NHL.com site and the analytics are there, it becomes much more not public, I should say, because the stats are public, but in a way they're more accessible. And Jack Johnson's analytics are abysmal. They're terrible, and rightfully so if he's getting healthy scratch. Obviously, he's not good. 3.5 mil a year for 5 years? Atrocity. No, I'm totally. You know what? I'm fine. I just don't. Analytics are such an important part of sports, and is being a hockey fan and seeing analytics just now becoming more and more popular is great. I just don't understand why so many fans are still hesitant, because it's not the end all be all, right? Stats shouldn't, they, for the most part, they paint a great picture of a player and a team. I just don't understand why a lot of hockey fans don't just don't accept them. Fair. That's fair. Hashtag grit, Julian. Hashtag grit. Right. Justin Schultz now is 27. The I mean, Justin Schultz was 25 at the time he joined the Penguins. He's going to be 28 in just a couple of days on July 6th. Jack Johnson is 31 now. I feel like with Justin Schultz, you still had a little bit of time to mold him a little bit. With Jack Johnson, you don't. Like, you absolutely don't. 3.5 mil for, a top 6 at best defenseman, when you're up against the cap, not a pretty look. But I mean, at the same time, this could be the off season. I mean, most off seasons feature a bunch of overpayments, but John Tavares might leave Long Island, and he can literally get any sum of money that is acceptable under the CBA. He can demand the moon and get it. He can demand, if this is not rumored, probably is not going to happen. If he becomes an LA King, if he demands a star, on the walk in Hollywood, he will get that. He can demand anything, and he will get it because he's John Tavares. Now, I can't see the Islanders without John Tavares because he is the face of the franchise. Obviously, he's fantastic. But at the same time, are the moves that the Islanders have made over the past couple of weeks? Also, they had a fantastic draft. They got Barry Trotz in there for the head coach. They got Lou Lamoriello as their GM. But is it too little too late? Because if you look at the roster right for next season, they're still in that 9 to 12 in the Eastern Conference range. They might sneak into the wild card if they get better goaltending. But is that enough to get John Tavares excited to stay in New York? Because he's done a lot of losing, that's for sure. They got out of the first round once, and it's what's the plan? If Lou and Barry, they met with him and they talked to him and all that, but is that enough? Is it too little too late for him? Is he out? And Ryan Callahan, and probably another contract or two as well. Maybe they might have to dangle. I mean, I don't know if this is plausible at all, but they might have to dangle a Yanni Gord or some name to a team like the Rangers, like like the Flames or the Devils or some team that take on these contracts. The Devils have a lot of space. The Islanders actually have the most amount of space at 32.7 mil. So they could do it. I don't think they would take Tampa's contracts so that Tampa could sign Tavares. Probably not going to happen. But I mean, I I think I said this last week on the show, and I'm gonna touch on it quickly. I think the Sharks are gonna push really hard to get Tavares because they moved Bacher. They have that slot, and if they get Tavares, I mean, I added a new function in the podcast. I introduced it on my Twitter. It's at Andrew Chelney. So for next week's show, if you want to vote, it's a poll that I put out. Please do. The poll question was, where do you think John Tavares signs? We'll discuss it at the end of the show. And over 130 people voted, and almost half, 43%, said the Islanders, 35 said the Maple Leafs, 10 said the Dallas Stars, and 12 said the Lightning. I should have put the Sharks on there. That's probably my number 2 after the Islanders. I think the Sharks probably gonna make the biggest push, and I really like this reply from @_NHL Sharks. She said he's going to come to the Sharks because, let's be real here, if I had the chance to play with Joe Thornton, Brent Burns, Pavelski, Couture, Kane, and company, I would take it. She's also a Sharks fan, so a little bit of bias there. But I mean, they have the center opening for him, and they made the cap space available. It's a fit. I would heavily suggest the Sharks. I mean, I had a dream last night, and I don't know if this says more about me and like what goes on in my head or my passion for hockey or both or none of the above, but I dreamt about hockey last night, and I, for some reason, my head thought that the St. Louis Blues are going to sign Joe Thornton to a 1-year deal, and that he goes on to score like 55 points for him. I don't know why my head thought that would be a phenomenal. I mean, they have the space because, Stastny, who is a UFA, is currently in Winnipeg, and they are looking to get a center, potentially Ryan O'Reilly, maybe Joe Thornton. I mean, you never know, but when you're dreaming about a sport, I guess crazier scenarios are possible. Listen, I don't want to talk about. Okay, listen, Ryan Reeves. If it's a 1-year deal, it's not he's not a good player. He's not. He fit in Vegas. They turned him into a solid fourth line player, and that's fine. I don't want him on the Rangers. Like, being a Rangers fan, I don't want him on the Rangers. Now, if it's a 1-year deal, whatever. I guess it's fine. It's not too big of a deal. I tweeted this earlier. Tanner Glass can leave the Rangers, but I guess the Rangers can't leave Tanner Glass because they're getting somebody like him, reportedly. But it was also rumored earlier today that the Rangers were gonna sign Leo Komarov to a multi-year deal, and then Rick Carpinello, basically Rangers insider, works for MSG, said that's not happening. So there's a lot of mist going on. So until the words official and or Drager or Bob McKenzie or somebody like that says it's going to happen, I mean, it's a lot of that is up in the air for sure. But Yeah, I mean, let's speed round the best UFAs of 2018 because we're kind of running out of time here. James Van Riemsdyk is going to be a UFA. Where do you think he goes? Yeah, I mean, Toronto would be remiss to let him go. But if Evander Kane gets 7x7 in San Jose, JVR is probably gonna get around that, maybe a little more. It might be tough to keep him with all the kids coming up and need a contract soon. And unless JVR takes a 1 year deal or a 2 year deal at most, which he probably isn't gonna do, it's gonna be tough to keep him for sure. Paul Stastny is a UFA, 32 years old, was great in St. Louis/Winnipeg. I think he stays. James Neal is a UFA. And so is David Perron. I think both of them stay. I doubt after the last season that both of them had that they're leaving. I don't see it. Sportsnet is saying Neal rejected a 5x5 offer from Vegas, and according to his agent Pat Morris, he told the Review Journal that all he can say is that James Neal loves Vegas and wants to stay, but common sense is that if James Neal isn't signed by July 1st, he's probably not coming back. So that will be definitely interesting development as that occurs. Mike Green, 32 years old. I mean, it's been rumored that he's been leaving Detroit forever, yet he's still on Detroit. So he might. I think he might end up going to Pittsburgh or a team that maybe San Jose because they're getting they're letting Dylan DeMello go. The Sharks need somebody like Mike Green that can still put up points. That can be that second power play unit guy because obviously Brent Burns is their top line point producer, but Mike Green could probably quarterback that second line power play unit. I think San Jose is a good fit for him. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, he's obviously going to need a pay cut. It's up to him, and it's up to the which team wants him the most as to how much they're going to pay him because he's not going to make as much as he did in Detroit. He made $6 million last year, which is not what he's going to get paid this upcoming season. But maybe 3, maybe 2.8, somewhere around that. Maybe 3.2 if you really need to sweeten the pot a little bit. Maybe a 1-2 year deal. that could fit. That could be a decent fit for him. By the way, quick note: tomorrow, June 29th, because this is gonna come up. We're recording this Thursday night, and I'll upload it Thursday night. Tomorrow, June 29th, is the 2-year anniversary of the Subban-Weber trade. Just want to throw that out there. That is for the statisticians and the anyone that's interested in dates and all of that. Julian mentioned this to me before the show. I did not remember this at all. Julian, I appreciate you bringing that up because that's a big date in Habs history and in Nashville history for sure. Right. I mean, he hasn't been showing up in game sevens, that's for sure. He doesn't. I remember, I don't remember exactly the number, but he doesn't put up a whole lot of numbers in game sevens, which is a problem when you're the top player on a team and you need to score goals in order to win the game. Stamkos hasn't been doing that, so that's a red flag in a way. But both the trades on June 29th, I mean, it's hard to find a date in which got demolished. Two separate teams got demolished in a trade. Montreal, I'm Julian. The Habs got destroyed in that trade, and the Oilers. I mean, with GM McClellan, with GM Chiarelli. I'm sorry, with not McClellan is the coach. With GM Chiarelli, it is difficult to win trades, but at the same time, trading Taylor Hall for Adam Larson, not a good move. At the time, not a good move now. Just a little bit. Absolutely. So before we wrap up here, Julian, it's been an absolute blast having you on. I mean, it's been great talking to you because we haven't really talked much since you graduated. Because I mean, you're out doing journalism things and sports things and out making a name for yourself and I'm still one semester away from graduating and I'm doing my thing still here in New York and you're up in Montreal now and plug your social media and also plug your Indiegogo. Fantastic show, by the way. I genuinely great show. Oh well, congratulations to him. Absolutely. Oh. I might need to get one of those campaigns myself because I'm recording in my room, and I don't know if my mic caught this throughout the show, but ambulances, couple of times, yeah. I mean that's outside my window, so I might need a few $1,000s on my own so I could also get a studio so those sounds don't appear in the recording anymore. But as of now, nope. I mean, unless someone wants to gift wrap you the remaining $6,000 and someone wants to donate $10,000 to me so I can buy a soundproof of my own. Unfortunately, the ambulance sounds, unless I find a different studio besides my room to record, then for the meantime, unfortunately, those sounds. I mean, I can't yell down there and be like, hey, recording something, please tone it down when these are trucks and ambulances that are probably a little more important because they are we're probably responding to something that's much more crucial and much more time sensitive. So Julian, you're the best. Thank you so much for coming on and for lending me your hot takes and your views on anything hockey related. And go listen to his show because it's fantastic, and go donate if you have the funds available. I know he would very much appreciate it. And Julian, thank you again. You are the best. Thank you, man. All right, so next week I will hopefully I have some names in mind. I will hopefully do a UFA special episode on Tuesday. Let's see if I can get that going. Because July 1st is day one of UFAs, and I would like to do a special. I think it's Monday is July 2nd, if I'm not mistaken. So I will try my best to get a special episode out then, where more scorching hot takes and the like will be up on Chel Squared. But as of now, I'm Andrew Chelney. Julian. Yeah. Yeah. I'll yeah. If Yeah. Yeah. If you can outro, that would be great. No, you're you're totally. I mean, you know what? Now I'm like torn if I should keep that in or edit that out. Oh wow. Okay. Well, now I have to edit that out. All right. Well, I'm Andrew Chelney, and we will see you next week.